So, hi Joe, how are you doing? Looks
Hey,
like
Susan.
a lovely day there.
It is, yeah. I can feel myself burning out on the terrace just as we speak. But it's all very beautiful here and a little bit lonely as we have no guests at all, of course, like everyone.
No.
But we're all right, thank you.
So, for you, Crumplebury, which is an amazing new event venue, which you only opened at the end of November. So, how has this all been in the last few weeks for you?
Yeah, well, frankly, it's been a bit brutal because you're right. We did technically open our doors in November, but we were really just getting ourselves geared up for what was going to be a very busy spring and summer. So, literally days before we were getting into the busy season was when we had the whole industry, we had the rug pulled from under us. So it's been really tough. Been really tough on the team because everyone was so fired up for what was going to be a fab summer. But we're being philosophical about it as best we can. We've been able to press pause fairly successfully because we are a new business. So we're just pausing. And yeah, as I'll show you on if you've got time for a little walkabout. But we've been busy in the gardens, just trying to get everything ready for when we can open the doors again.
Sure. So, what's your experience been with the events that you already had booked? Have they postponed or cancelled? What's happened?
Yeah, well, 100% of the events that were due to be happening between now or back in March and the end of July, we've managed to successfully reschedule. Some for later on in this year, some for next year, and have to say, for the weddings, it's been the couples that have just been amazingly supportive. Corporates obviously aren't committing to a date yet, so we're sort of tentatively pushing them to next year and giving them some options, but no one really knows quite what the international travel situation is going to look like, even in the beginning of 2021. So horses for courses. But at the moment, sitting here now on this lovely day, it doesn't feel like we've lost any business. It's more moving it into 2021.
Good. And have you had new inquiries over the last few weeks, or is there signs of people kind of starting to think about booking events again?
We certainly have had new inquiries. I mean, nowhere near the volume that we were getting pre-COVID. I think that would be understandable. We're being very careful to make sure we don't overpromise at this stage with too much uncertainty. So we're not taking any new bookings before September, for example, simply because it would be such a shame to accept a booking and then not be able to actually do it. Um, so the inquiries are coming. I think we're like the whole world really. We're poised, waiting to see what the guidelines look like, and then we'll be absolutely ready to deal with the inquiries. But until we get some parameters like how many people are allowed on site at a time, or whether or not we can do overnight stays, all of those have such a fundamental impact on what kind of proposition we can offer that it's difficult to quite know what to sell, frankly.
Yes, yeah, and I think a lot of venues are in the same position, aren't they? It's there's a lot of what ifs and speculation, and certainly looking at what other industries are doing. Have you sort of considered some of the things that the restaurant industry are looking at, for example, because they potentially will get to open their doors before event venues will?
Yeah, well, as you know, a big part of our business here is the restaurant business as well. So Green Cow Kitchens, which is based I'll show you, just around the corner over there, um, was established long before we built the add-on bits of the event spaces. So that's been going for 6 years, and in a way, that's the bit that we were experienced that in making the restaurant business happen. So to answer your question, yes, we're thinking very carefully about ways we can adopt the bigger space that we've got in company now to offer socially distant dining. I mean, we have our whole kind of philosophy around service is around it being very family orientated. We only have one sitting. It's a long dinner experience, tasting menu. All of these things do fly in the face of social distance and face masks and all the rest of it in a way. So we're going to have to adapt. We know that, but it's about making sure we hang on to our core principles of great food, discerning dining experiences, and we'll just have to kind of work out what we can do within the parameters of that. I mean, we have set up a table I'll show you in a moment in the grand hall. So we've set up a socially distant table of 8, but it would be a very different dining experience than what we're used to
Yes,
showing people.
yes, because the grand hall is very grand and big. So yes, I'm interested to see what that looks like. So have your chefs, have they seen this as an opportunity to get creative in terms of food. I mean, certainly if we think about events again, buffets and canapes will need to look different than they do today, or did.
Yeah, I mean,
not
frankly,
previously.
The chef team are being amazing, but they are all on furlough at the moment.
Right.
So we haven't done any planning with them at this stage, because I think, again, we just need a few more clues as to what the parameters are that we can work with. The blessing we do have is we have a big kitchen. We've got a very modern setup here. So, if it's possible, we'll figure out a way of doing it, I think would be the mantra.
Yeah.
I actually think, in a way, the food that we create is probably going to be, doesn't have to be all that different. I think it's going to be the style of service and how we actually get it to people. And I've seen amazing things on social media, people delivering plates of food on long planks, and obviously the visors and all that sort of stuff. So I think we'll have to find our own version of that kind of innovation to be able to serve food. And it might be, you're right, that buffets may be out, but it may be that beautiful tables laid up with individual plates of food that then our staff step away from, and then customers can go and collect. That might be a way forward. We've been looking at things like bamboo plates, rather than having to bring all the crockery back into the wash-up area. So, yeah, I think keeping alive to the options, but as I keep saying, we're still slightly flailing around in the dark a bit.
Yeah. So you said you've laid up a table in the Grand Hall. It would be lovely to be able
I'll give you a tour.
Thank you.
I'm going to try... It's right out there, actually. Let me just try flipping my camera around. I can show you a few things. Bear with me. How do I do that? Here we go. So this is the view. That's where my little chair I was sitting on now. So you can see the gardens. We've been working hard. The green being our lovely bit of new lawn, and then above the green is some reseeded wildflower meadow. So all we need now is a bit of rain, and we're pretty confident that will take off. So this is our bar space. So this is still set, really ready to accept an events booking. But I don't know if you can get a sense of the scale on a screen like this. But it's quite a big area, so we could happily fit 20 or 30 people in here at social distance spacing. And I'll show you the view is looking particularly lovely by this time of year. We've just dug our ha-ha. So the brown bit in the foreground is our new ha-ha, which will green up. But you can see it is lovely on a day like today.
Beautiful. Yes, I feel very fortunate that I just managed to come and visit you before lockdown happened. And yes, I mean, everything that you've done there, is the attention to detail is amazing.
Thank you. That's kind. Well, this is we just, for the purpose of this call, we just laid out what it might look like. So this is a table of 8 sitting under our big chandelier in the Grand Hall. Pretty. This hall can seat 250 people if we really want to get people in. So it does look a bit crazy only having one little table in here. But I think part of our ideas were that along this area of the gable end, we could partition that and set some really lovely tables to enjoy the view. It's just quite a cavernous space to try and dress, and we deliberately wanted to keep it fairly free of too much permanent fixture, but that does have its challenges when we come to actually laying it up in restaurant service. And then this is the view out to our kitchen garden, which we've been busy renovating. Sadly, empty raised beds at this stage. We didn't know what to plant, so we haven't done anything at this point. But this outside area as well, the red brick bit you can see at the end there is the restaurant, which we're having a bit of work done in as we speak. But the idea is that we could do some outdoor dining as well, if the restrictions allow us. And that, I think, would be a really positive way of being able to offer a great experience, but still outside, maximise the options of keeping everything distant and et cetera, et cetera.
Yes, and it's nice to see that you've kind of been busy during this time, putting things in place that perhaps, had you been full with events, you perhaps would have not got round to doing. So using the time.
Yeah, and because we are part of my day job is running Whitbourne Estate, so we're very fortunate that we have a team here. We've got people that work in forestry and maintenance, so we can get quite a lot of stuff done. And you're right, if we were as full as we were scheduled to have been, we've had to fit all these bits and pieces in around other events. So yeah, if there is any good to have come of all of this, it is a little bit of headspace to be able to get everything else organised.
Sure. And so you're remaining upbeat and positive, and looking forward to kind of when we all know a bit more.
Yeah, I am ever the optimist. I really do feel that it's important to try and be optimistic. I think it is a worrying time for the whole industry, and we're obviously not going to be sheltered from that or isolated from that. So I think we're all going to have to be nimble. And I fear a little bit for the sort of the bigger macro picture of how much financial pain the whole country is going to have to go through to get out of this mess. But actually, yeah, in terms of our little bubble here, I am feeling optimistic because I think we've built a good product, and I think that, well, going by my household anyway, we're going to be desperate to get out and someone else cook dinner for a change. So I think that there will be a bit of an upswing when the time comes.
Yes, and you've got not just all that great indoor space, but that outdoor space, and it does already feel as though being outdoors, people are viewing as safer than being in an inside space. So hopefully, the weather will still be with us, so that you can make the most of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we've done quite a few outdoors events over the years, and they're always very emotional. The chefs having to get all the kit into the woods and all that. So there's definitely going to be some big challenges to overcome to do it regularly. But you're absolutely right. One of the privileges we have at Whitbourne, at Crumplebury, is lots of space outside. So we've got to make the most of that. And that may go into even our event spaces as well as doing lovely alfresco dining. The prospect of doing wedding ceremonies outdoors, and even team building conferencey type things outdoors with great fresh air. We already knew there was a demand for that before COVID, so I think COVID's only going to have sort of heightened the enthusiasm to be able to do that kind of thing.
Sure. And you mentioned obviously Green Cow Kitchen, and you've been building your raised vegetable beds, and I know that the food ethos for you is something that's really important, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's the one thing that is going on at a pace probably best for years is the farming part of the business. We've had this fantastic weather, the grass is growing, the lambs did really well, so that all helps to sort of bring the circle around, and the stock that we produce in the home farm finds its way into the restaurant. That's a huge part of what we do. So yeah, that I think will absolutely be an ongoing part of our plan, our strategy.
And I think, one of the themes that's come out of the last few weeks is that kind of supporting local and community, and it feels as though potentially people will be looking for that with whatever they do going forward. And so you're well positioned almost, aren't you, to kind of with the farm producing the food to fork kind of scenario.
Yeah, I think so. And when we first, like everyone, when we announced to the world that we were closing our doors, it's very humbling, all the lovely messages you get, people confirming that people confirming that they're going to be first through the doors as soon as we can open again. So yeah, I think you're right that there will be a real enthusiasm to support local. I hope there will. Yeah, we're looking forward to seeing everyone again.
Yeah, likewise. Well, Joe, really nice to talk to you. Thank you very much, and we'll keep in touch.
Pleasure. Love to chat. Thanks, Susan.
Bye.
Cheerio.